Hey PT, this is Mr. Caslin. Sorry, I'm just getting back with you on this revenue problem today. I had to load some software to get this all working again. Now, here's my understanding of how this problem should work. We've already discussed that revenue is equal to price times quantity. That's the way they defined it in your book, which makes sense. Revenue is how many items you sold times the price of each item. So they gave you an equation for quantity as it relates to price. Okay, this came out of this was one of the examples in the book. So one of the things we're going to do is, so that we can find revenue with respect to R, let's take this equation and solve for P. Right before I left, this is what we started to do, and I still think this is the right approach for this problem. So to solve for P, you're subtracting 500 from each side, dividing by negative 20, and you get this relation P is equal to x minus 500 over negative 20. Okay, so let's go back to what the definition of revenue is. It's P, but since we want revenue with respect to x, we're going to use our new definition of P, which is x minus 500. You'll have to excuse me, I'm still not very good at writing with a mouse, so I'll have to get a good computer pen here at some point. But for now, it's mouse. All right, so think of P as being x minus 500 over negative 20 times x. And like you said, you looked at this and said, oh, that's going to create an x squared, which is a quadratic, which is right. Let's break apart this piece into a fraction. Basically, what you're going to get is 1 over negative 20x. Negative divided by negative is a positive. 50 divided by 20, you're going to get 25. 25x. So revenue with respect to x, from what I can see, is equal to this function here. Now this was, I jotted down this out of your book, and what we looked in the back of the book and saw the revenue function, and it didn't match this. I don't know if I wrote it down wrong or whatever, but this looks like this would be right. Okay, so you're looking for, I believe, I don't have the problem in front of me, but you're looking for like the maximum. We've got a quadratic. Oh, you're probably saying, Mr. Kelly, hey, x squared. You're right. So you've got a quadratic. It's a parabola that turns down because our coefficient is negative. We're looking for the vertex. Okay, our vertex in this case is going to be a maximum point. Remember, vertex is along the axis of symmetry. Okay, this equation, this quadratic equation, is in standard form. I don't know if you've talked about this in class yet, but standard form, remember, is ax squared plus bx plus c, and there is the equation of the axis of symmetry is x is equal to negative b over 2a. Okay, so b in this case is 25, so you have a negative 25 over 2 times a is our leading coefficient, which is negative 1 over 20. Okay, you got some fraction math to deal with here. Oh, clean this up a little bit. Make my parentheses look a little better. Okay, so basically the equation you have here is you have a negative 25 divided by negative 2 over 20, which is negative 1 over 10. When you divide by a fraction, it's the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. Again, excuse my writing here. not the best mouse writer. Okay, so you have a negative times a negative. You're going to get a positive 250. Okay. So when you've sold 250 items, that looks like that's when your revenue is maximized. Okay. Now, if your X is 250, you want to find the Y value, so you're basically plugging 250 into your function. Whoops. A little crazy with that. All right, so this is our function. We're plugging 250 in for X. We'll get our output. We'll just use the calculator for that. Okay, so I've graphed this function, this negative 1 over 20x squared plus 25x. Instead of looking at the graph, we're going to look at the table. And there's a way, I can show you this sometime if you need to. There's a way you can ask if x is 250 for that function, what's the output? The output is $3,125. Okay, so if I wrote that down right, that looks like this is what I would get. So basically, you've got the problem you were looking at. It's a quadratic. You're given a definition of x as it relates to p. So solve for p, and that'll allow you to define revenue as p times x. But everything will be related to x into your equation, which creates a quadratic. Hope this helps. We'll talk to you later. You can always send me questions on email. Have a good one.